Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Beeck Center for Social Impact and Innovation's Civic Tech Live series. Before we begin, may I please ask everyone to take a moment to silence your phones? Thank you. My name is Tuka. I'm a student analyst at the Beeck Center on the Digital Service Network team. I'm honored to help kick off tonight's conversation here in the beautiful Riggs Library. Civic Tech Live's purpose is simple and ambitious. Connect data and technology leaders with students who want their careers in public service to matter. As a student, this mission is personal. We're entering public life at a time when digital systems shape everything. The stakes are high, but so is the opportunity to build systems that are more effective, more just, and more human. At the Beeck Center, my work focuses on understanding how government actually does that work, how ideas become institutions, and institutions become services that people can feel. As a student analyst, I've had the opportunity to research how the growing role of the state chief data officer, from how individuals in this role are improving data sharing to how they are building privacy and governance guardrails. But more specifically, I've had a front row seat to what it looks like when public servants push systems to serve residents better. If you ask what the work meant to me, it's this. It's taught me that public interest technology isn't just about brilliant algorithms. It's also about human-centered design. Titles like Chief Data Officer are not abstract. They're the connective tissue that turns values into operations and operations into impact. It also taught me that responsible innovation is a team sport. Technologists, policymakers, researchers, and residents all have a role. And for students, it showed that there's a real pathway from the classroom to the places where better data and better designs make the government work better. That's why tonight's speakers are so special. DJ Patil helped define this field. As the first U.S. chief data scientist, he didn't just run projects, he helped build infrastructure for impact, establishing dozens of chief data officer roles across the federal government and launching initiatives like Precision Medicine, the Cancer Moonshoot, the Data-Driven Justice Initiative, and the Police Data Initiative, all programs that have touched tens of millions of Americans. He also brings a rare perspective across sectors, from coining the term data scientist at LinkedIn to leading technology at Devoted Health, and now investing in companies working at the intersection of health, enterprise, and national security. For students like me, his career makes a powerful case that technical excellence and public service can and should go together. We're equally fortunate to be joined by Professor Lisa Singh. As Department Chair of Computer Science, Professor at the McCourt School, and Director of the Massive Data Institute, she models what it means to bring rigorous data science to real-world policy questions responsibly. As we look ahead, AI will shape the next decade of civic tech. AI is no longer hypothetical in government, it's operational. The question before us is how to embed accountability, equity, and privacy into the machinery of public service. And the task we now face is to educate a new generation like this, ready to lead the transformation with the support of places like the Beeck Center and the Massive Data Institute, and with the expertise of leaders like our speakers today. On behalf of the Beeck Center, thank you to our partners, practitioners, faculty, staff, and especially students for joining us this evening. Your presence signals that the future of public service belongs to people who can bridge disciplines and keep people at the center of work. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce someone who embodies that bridge. Lynn Overman is the Executive Director of the Beeck Center. She has led across government, nonprofit, civic tech, bringing a consistent focus on fairness, equity, and results. In the Obama administration, Lynn served as a senior advisor on data and technology in the U.S. Department of Commerce and as a deputy chief data officer at the Department of Justice, helping to translate data into better policy and better outcomes. At the Beeck Center, her vision continues to shape a community where practitioners and students build the public interest systems our community needs. Please join me in welcoming Lynn Overman to the stage.
Thank you so much, Tuka, and it is truly a pleasure to see everyone here. Welcome to our second edition of Civic Tech Live. We are absolutely thrilled to be back at this event series, bringing together esteemed speakers in the Georgetown University community to provide students and our good friends with insights into civic technology and future careers in the field. I see many of you who are friends of the Beeck Center, along with some new faces joining us for the first time. So welcome, and thank you for coming here with us tonight. I joined the Beeck Center just over 2 years ago as executive director, and since then, we've celebrated our 10th anniversary, a decade of making systems work for everyone through data, design, and policy. At the Beeck Center, we believe in working across sectors, connecting government and civic technology to create a people-centered, digitally enabled government for all. Whether it's a parent applying for childcare, someone navigating unemployment for the first time, or government employee delivering those services. We do this work hand in hand with Georgetown students, the next generation of change makers in social impact and public service. We launched this event series last year in honor of Erica Pincus, a Georgetown alum and distinguished public servant who passed away in 2021. DJ and I were both fortunate enough to work with Erica at the Obama White House. Even in her late 20s, it was obvious to both of us that Erica was an extraordinary talent. Whether it was creating 3-foot-long Gantt charts that she would unroll, the font was this big, and it all made sense, to manage the many, many moving parts of a national initiative that we co-created, the Data-Driven Justice Initiative. Perhaps her hardest job, wrangling me and her actual boss, Dave Wilkinson, and trying to get us, unsuccessfully, to stick to meeting agendas and timelines that Gantt charts just simply could not manage, or just quietly doing the background work that made it possible for us to impact hundreds of thousands of lives. It is truly an honor to be here today in celebration of Erica. A special thank you to Holly and Cliff Pincus, Erica's parents, who are here tonight, for their generous support of this event series through the Erica Pincus Arabesque Foundation. We're able to inspire and connect future generations with opportunities in civic technology. So this is what brings us here together today with two incredible leaders, DJ Patil and Lisa Singh. So as Tuka mentioned, DJ Patil worked across the private sector before joining the Obama administration as the first ever US Chief Data Scientist. His career spans government, the private sector, and academia, and I've had the pleasure of working with him in multiple capacities. DJ taught me many things, but one thing I don't think I've ever told him he taught me was the first time I ever truly used user-centered design was when I worked for him in the Obama administration. So DJ recruited me back to the White House from the Department of Commerce with an irresistible pitch. I could work on any project at the intersection of data and criminal justice reform. So I actually started my career as a public defender and saw very deeply how that system was impacting people. But given the scale of the challenges in the system and the fact that we were in the final year of the Obama administration, it wasn't actually easy to identify what project we should tackle where we could have impact in that period of time. So instead of guessing or coming up with a top-down solution, we brought together 23 criminal justice leaders from across 20 different states, judges, jail administrators, police chiefs, and public defenders from a diverse set of communities across the country. And we simply asked them, what was the biggest problem that they were facing in the criminal justice system where data and technology could make a difference? And the answer very quickly became clear. It was people who were in mental health crisis that were ending up in jail, not because they belonged there, but because there was nowhere else to take them. And from that insight, DJ, Erica, and I built the Data-Driven Justice Initiative, a national bipartisan effort that ultimately grew to over 140 jurisdictions. And I will say, DJ, I wish Clarence Wardell was here tonight. DJ also is really good at motivating people's competitive spirits. So right next to his desk at the White House, there was this little whiteboard, and on one side was DDJ, and on the other side was the Police Data Initiative, PDI, and he had us competing for who could get the most jurisdictions. And so every day we'd very excitedly come in, and guess, Erica was the one who helped track it, who helped set up all of the calls, all of the recruiting calls, and I do want to say with a small amount of pleasure that we did win. DDJ beat PDI by about, I think, 5 jurisdictions, and I will never let my colleagues forget that part. Lisa Singh leads the Massive Data Institute here at Georgetown and is a professor and chair of the Computer Science Department. In addition to her work with MDI, she's affiliated with multiple initiatives that leverage data to understand issues ranging from international migration to dolphin social structures. And yes, you should ask her about that at the reception. I've been lucky enough to work with Lisa from the time I started at the Beeck Center. Lisa invited me to facilitate a panel just 3 weeks after I started on data equity and representation with an amazing group of experts. That's where I first got the opportunity to meet Lisa and understand what a kind and whip-smart force of nature she is. And that was when she was only running MDI. Since then, despite adding running the entire computer science department to her plate, we at Beeck have continued to benefit from strong partnerships with Lisa and the MDI team, including the Policy to Code prototyping challenge, where Lisa and the Beeck Center tested AI chatbots' ability to accurately translate SNAP and Medicaid policy. And I've got some bad news for you about what those results were, which you should also ask her at the reception. Needless to say, Lisa is a person who gets things done, which is why I was so excited for her to join this panel with DJ. They definitely share that trait in common. So it is an honor to have both of you here, especially among the next generation of Civic Tech technologists and public service servants. We're looking forward to a great conversation, moderated by one of the Beeck Center's own awesome students, Walter Hall. So with that, I'd like to welcome DJ, Lisa, and Walter to the stage.
Okay.
Wow, what a set of introductions.
I know. This is fancy.
Well, I was going to do this. Is this thing on? All right, good.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you, Len and Tuka, for the warm introduction. I'm Walter Hall. I'm a second-year grad student in the Data Science and Analytics program. I've been a student analyst with the Beeck Center and the Data Labs team since approximately fall of 2024, and we work on various data support initiatives with the state chief data officers. Tonight, I'm thrilled to be sitting next to two people who represent both sides of what makes Civic Tech so exciting: bold government initiatives and rigorous academic insight. DJ Patil has worn just about every hat you can in data science, from co-inventing the term itself, LinkedIn, to serving as the first chief data officer, or first U.S. chief data scientist in the Obama administration, to now investing in technologies that improve healthcare and public safety. Lisa Singh has deep data research expertise, having authored over 100 peer-reviewed publications and chaptered relevant to data-centric computing, and now leads Georgetown's massive data institute, where her work focuses on how data science can improve public policy decision-making. So to begin, the first question to you both, we'll start with DJ with you answering first. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. To kick us off with an easy one here, could you each start by sharing what first pulled you into data science? Go ahead, please, first, DJ.
Well, let me first thank everyone for being here. Thank you for Lynn and the team for hosting this. And I especially want to say thank you to the Pincus family for letting us borrow Erica for a brief period of time where she had outsized impact. And I think it's always very nice and makes you feel good internally that you've been able to do things. I think my superpower, honestly, is being able to be around phenomenal talent like Erica. And I think one of the things that in these times and all these questions and things we're going to talk about, something that is really unique is to really ask ourselves, how do we foster the next generation of awesomeness? And there's a lot of you here today. And what does it look like to model and become the next kind of Erica? And I say this with this is something I've said to other people, is like, we were all going to work for Erica. She was going to be a future secretary or a CEO. I was very convinced of it. And then a lot of my other students and other people I've mentored are those people, like Dylan Field of Figma, some of the top VCs, some of the other people who are top academics these days. And so that is what embodies the spirit here. And it's actually reminds me, like when I think about Erica, the reason I got into data science is because I didn't know any better. But I knew what good problems look like and felt like. And so I was an academic up at University of Maryland, and I was trying to figure out like what is interesting. And this is the days when, we didn't have the idea of massive data. We didn't have these ideas of even big data. And so I just literally was trying to say, what could I cobble together? And people started to put data online, and you had to work really hard to figure out how to get the data, do things. And one of the things that was wild is you could find patterns in it. And And I thought, wow, if we could find patterns in it, we might be able to discover new things. And that led to some of the major changes in the way we think about weather forecasting. But the seminal shift for me fundamentally was actually after 9/11. And I was up at the World Trade Center 3 days after, had a lot of friends who were impacted, friends who had loved ones impacted. And I realized that what does it take if we have these skills that we all collectively are building, we're working, we're honing, and what does it mean to work on some of the biggest problems of today? And that was the biggest problem I could find of that day. And so I asked myself, okay, if we're able to do this, could I do something? So I went into national security, and I didn't go in at some super level. I didn't even have access to the Pentagon. I was a super low-level flunky over at Fort Belvoir, and just said, okay, can I make a difference and make an impact? And we realized that, wow, we could do special things with data. And if we do those special things with data, we could have an impact. A lot of those things also required very hard questions around privacy, security, other questions, other type things, and trying to figure out how to do it. But the thing that I think is beautiful about data is it's messy. It's messy because the best data problems come down to human problems. And the best human problems come down to the ones that are going to change and transform society. And if you can align those things together, you can actually have a disproportionate impact that is hard to do in a lot of other places.
That's awesome, DJ. Thank you. Lisa, passing over to you, what kind of got you into the data science space?
Yeah, so when I came to Georgetown, I came as a somewhat classic computer scientist. I was trained in databases and in data mining. And data mining is just large-scale pattern recognition. And I was very excited about the algorithms that I would develop to very efficiently discover different types of patterns. And I ran into a professor who's in the biology department. Her name is Janet Mann. She's a distinguished professor now at Georgetown. And as Lynn said, although she didn't mention Janet's name, she studies dolphins. And she had really crappy, messy data, and she didn't know what to do. And she looked me up on the web, and she's like, somebody said I should just meet you, and you would like to play with my really messy data. And I was like, well, I wouldn't mind. Let's see. Let's get a look at it. And it was lovely. And that's what it was. It was messy. It was complicated. It had a lot of different issues. And it was my first look at data that was non-corporate data and non-transactional data, and I loved it. And I realized that the problems that she was looking at were problems that were bigger in many ways than problems that I was thinking about. She was very worried about dolphins and the environment and how they survive, and she was thinking about all kinds of questions that I had never thought about. And it was fabulous to work in this interdisciplinary environment where there were faculty and students from all these different disciplines trying to understand how dolphins were building community structures, which ones were succeeding, which ones were failing, and how to build algorithms that could do this in meaningful ways. And it was such a love moment. Although you would be sad to hear some of the things that dolphins do, but that's a whole nother story. But it was such a love moment that I immediately started connecting with others around campus and around DC who were working on different problems. Forced migration became a cornerstone problem that I still work on today with UNHCR, where we build different types of models to help people when they're forcibly displaced from their homes. And that led to thinking about online social movements, and that led to thinking about health and gun violence. And suddenly, every new data set was this new opportunity to develop innovative new techniques to make the world slightly better than what it was before, or inform the world in ways that they didn't necessarily know. And so this just became how I do all my research. Anyone who works with me knows we have a team that's very interdisciplinary. I know the little bit that I know, and everybody knows their little bit. And if we can't do it together, then there's no chance that we can actually solve some of these complicated problems that DJ was mentioning.
Awesome, Lisa. Thank you. So this question is going to go to you both. Lisa, we'll have you answer first. So when you think about civic tech and public interest tech in 2025, especially with the prevalence of AI, what feels most promising to you right now, and where do you think we need to be most cautious?
Yeah. So great question, and I think about this a lot, actually. I think about where can we make the difference, where will AI help us, and where will it hurt us, or where we should be more cautious. So AI is here. It's not going away, and it's been around a long time. We may think it just came about, but it's been around a long time. But generative AI is newer, and the democratization of generative AI has really transformed how we all think about AI in our lives. And I do think that one thing that we're going to start learning to do, or just do without realizing we're learning it, is redesign our processes and redesign how we do things. So I think it can be beneficial to think about complicated processes that are slow and that have repetitive components to them, that perhaps there are ways to utilize technologies to replace some of those components and have humans interact with the parts that are most important. Or most complicated, maybe would be the better way to say it. So I think that's a really promising spot for AI. I also think we're going to start to see the emergence of a new type of scientist. I won't coin a phrase yet because I'm not sure I'm ready to do that. But a scientist who's thinking about the templating that is necessary to replicate what generative AI produces. So everyone talks about prompt engineering and that being important, but actually the rule sets that are developed that can then be translated directly to code in a way that is interpretable, I think is really powerful for developing civic tech tools across states. So if you're able to build these templates well for one or two states, perhaps those can then be used to suddenly do mass production of code across a lot of states where these templates can then just be customized for different states. So I think that's a real promising area, and MDI and Beeck have explored that with policy to code and rules to code, and have had, while the policy to code initiative showed some of the gaps, we actually are able to show templating as being an important direction forward. So I was amazed at how that worked so simply and how we were able with a small team to, in the summer, build something so scalable. And I think we're going to see more and more of those types of opportunities emerge. Caution, lots of caution. I am an optimist about technology. Look, I'm the chair of the Department of Computer Science. Obviously an optimist. But I do worry about people using AI to try to do good without thinking about the data that they are using to produce the models that they are working with, without thinking about the lack of representation, without thinking about the biases, because it's so easy. It's so easy to just create a model and not test it and not understand when it's going to fail. So I'm very concerned about that. And I hope that as people start to use AI more and more, that they don't just use it and not understand how it's giving them the answer. When we think about driving a car, we sort of force you to get a license, right? We explain certain things, like, when the tire's flat, you have to replace it. It needs a certain amount of air. You need gas in your car. You need, your wipers are necessary to make sure you can see, right? And we teach you things about the road, and you have to take an exam. But yet, we'll give you a mobile device and AI without telling you anything about what's under the hood, right? We don't expect you to know anything. And so I really hope that as you think about using AI and civic tech and more broadly, that you at least learn what you would learn as if you were driving an automobile. You don't need to know how the engine works, but you need to know there's an engine. And so, can we find ways to help people think about how they're using AI before they actually use it?
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. That was a great analogy. I feel like DC people really don't know how to use a car, so who knows?
It is true. It is true. I may not be helpful. This might be the wrong crowd.
Right. But to pass that to you, DJ, excuse me, what is something that makes you feel most promising and the most cautious with the AI in 2025?
Yeah, well, maybe there's a lot of things that spur thoughts for me on this. That I have no affiliation with Georgetown, so I can. What are they going to do? Fire me? It's just like kick me out of the reception.
Don't worry, I have 10 years.
Exactly, right? There you go. So you're saying. So let me say two controversial things that I think are not really controversial, but they are in the climate today. The first is, to your point, we have a lot sort of wrapped up in these words like DEI. And as a person that has spent a lot of time trying to build products that are not just national, but international, I look at it and I go, I don't know how to do any of that. I don't know how to do any of the things we did in public policy, in the Bush administration, in the Obama administration, helping out on the Trump administration, unless you have a team that is diverse, that can look at the data, can ask very intellectually honest questions. You can call it whatever the heck you want. I call it what good looks like. And having representation means having a voice at the table who people can call out things when you say, that's a blind spot, that's an issue. Have you thought about this? And I don't know what we call it going forward, but we should describe what a pattern of good looks like and what a pattern of dumb looks like. Because dumb is when you intentionally are not going to do that, and you're going to miss something. You're either going to harm somebody, or you're going to end up building something that is going to fundamentally lose in the market because you don't have those kind of people around there. The second thing I would say is, and this is a lesson I think from data science, was did it have to be called data science? Probably not. Got people paid a lot more. But we could have stuck with traditional titles there. There was data mining. That was a perfectly reasonable thing. There was business intelligence. The reason I think data science won is because no one knows what the heck it is. And so it creates...
You haven't read my definition. I need to send it to you.
Yeah, well, like when we were, at least when we were coming up with it, we were like, well, what do we call... We're like, well, we want something that just sort of encompasses an area that holds space at the table with product people, with executives, with other people. We want just something that's there. And we literally data science our way in it. Monica Rigatti came up with the credit. Jeff Hammerbacher and I, who was running the team at Facebook, we came up with a list of different titles. We had like 8 different titles. And then Monica was like, well, why don't we just put all the job titles, like put all the job postings with all the various titles and see what people apply to? She's like, we're LinkedIn. I'm like, oh, that's a good point, Monica. Why don't we do that? And guess what? Everyone applied to data science. We're like, I guess that's what we're calling ourselves. So, we data scienced our way into it. And the reason I bring this up is I think civic tech is a bad term. I think we should just be honest about it. It's a term that gets you disinvited from the big table. Because people don't know what it is. It's got a lot of baggage. And I think we need to figure out, like, what does the 2.0 of this actually look like? I'm not saying that the things we do are wrong, but what I do think is we should ask ourselves fundamentally, what does it mean to have this new thing? And like, I think some of this still in DC, I look at how we're building these companies. The job titles are all changing because they're sort of weird, squishy things. There was first data scientists, and we're like, oh, wait, there's a data engineer. And then the thing, whether you call them prompt engineers, we're not even calling people that now. We have these AI engineers. We have these different platform teams. There's a whole new set of terms, roles, jobs, functionality that's coming up. And I think we're still holding on to these things like agile process and certain types of, this is what a product spec looks like, and this is what a product manager does. From where I come from and what I am seeing, those are no longer the jobs of tomorrow. Everything is about to be rebuilt around these new kind of engines, these new things. right or wrong, it's happening. To me, that's chaos. And out of chaos comes opportunity. And we should lever this moment of chaos to say, what are the new roles of Civic Tech? What is that new title? So that we no longer are trying to fight to be at the table, that people are going to use this moment and say, you know what? Why aren't you at this table? Because we don't know what the heck we're doing with AI or these other things. And you should use that as a vector in to then be the agent of change that we want and we know we need to have. And the training that you all are getting is the primary one that is needed for this. You're already primed for it. So this is like a jujitsu moment of how do we actually get change to be effective and take place in organizations that are being politicized, weaponized, and people are being marginalized to do the job they're here to do.
Awesome. Thank you, DJ. To kind of caveat off, actually one more question for you as well. So you led efforts across government, healthcare, and private sector from LinkedIn to the Obama White House to venture capital. Looking back, what's one moment or project that showed you what's possible when data and technology are truly used to improve people's lives?
I am super fortunate to have been in a lot of really fun, unique situations, some not so fun. But I'll tell you one, because actually it involves Erica, Lynn, and a lot of Maya and others here. It was, we were in this room in our super cramped office, and we were trying to figure out stuff about criminal justice. And Lynn posed a question. She's like, "Have you ever been to jail before?" And I was like, "Not according to my security disclosures." And I was like, you know what? I had never actually been to a jail. And she's like, "Oh, do you know what jail smells like?" I actually don't know what jail smells like. She's like, she's like, "You know what? We need to take you to jail." And I'm like, "What are we going to do at jail?" And I realized what an incredible blind spot. What an incredible blind spot. And so when we got to this jail in Oakland, and we're going through, and you're getting to experience what this process is like for a people. You're sitting down with a group of inmates and just asking them, what do you want the president to know tomorrow? And you realize all these places that actually aren't technology problems, but are human problems, and that the ignorance sometimes we have of trying to bring a technology solution to a human fight, when rather just saying, what can we do to help people and augment them, fundamentally flipped my order of thinking around. And when I see people working in healthcare, I'm responsible for a lot of people's lives in healthcare nowadays. I take that very seriously. And one of the things that I do is I spend a lot of times in people's living rooms. A lot of times. We do something that's called a pantry pathology when we get to someone's house. We get to their house, and they tell us what's going on, and we go, "Can we take a look at your pantry?" And we go through their pantry, and we're like, "That is not low sodium." I won't say the brands of the canned food, but they're all the usual suspects. And then we look at other things, and we go, "Oh my gosh, we can do all the AI and the tech and the data science we want, but we don't actually know how to characterize this. We don't actually know what the real signal is. We don't know what touch and feel is." Well, I used to do this with my product managers at LinkedIn. Before you roll out a project or anything, you had to print out the kind of stuff on big poster boards, and you had to go to Starbucks and hold the thing out there in front of everyone. This was our version of user research. We're like, "Tell us what you see." And they're like, "What's LinkedIn?" We're like, "Ugh." We're like, "One day you'll know, maybe." And we'd ask them things like, "What's the next button you'd click?" And they'd be like, "There's no buttons." And then we'd point to the button, and they'd be like, "Oh." You'd be like, "Wow." So the disconnect between technology, user experience, all these different pieces, the part there that I think I've learned the most, there's so much cool technology, but the best part of a job, the best part of building anything is really sitting down with the people, the humans that are impacted, and doing this. Maya and I got to work on building precision medicine and got to call up people who were going through cancer, going through other issues, and hear the story directly from them. And every day, what that does to you is it changes your mindset of not what product you can ship, but what are you doing today to make that person's life different tomorrow. And I think if we approach that, that's a different order of motivation, and it aligns the team up in a different pragmatic way. Whether you want to call them forward deployed engineers, you want to call them consultants, or whatever you want to call them, doesn't matter. If you want to be making change, get into the fight, get into join the picnic, whatever analogy you want to use, but get out there and sort of interact directly with the people that your technology is going to touch, and then ask, what can we do more with the technology today, and what potentially we might be able to do with the technology tomorrow, what safeguards we need to think about. Maybe we have blind spots, we have other things that are going on, but really radically trying to ask these questions from a perspective that is the population that's going to be impacted first and foremost.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa and DJ. Want to make
she
sure
doesn't get to answer it?
that one should. Well, I want to make sure we get.
I didn't work in government.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah. Now we want to make sure we got to get some time too
Okay.
for the audience. I know as much people want to hear me ask questions the entire night. I want to make sure the audience has some time as well too. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and turn over to the audience. Is there any questions there? Oh, we have one right there.
I am wondering if you have any reflections on policy that can be put in place to maximize the good that governments can do with data. So for instance, I think about the data-driven justice initiative as something good, while minimizing potential harms that governments can also do with data. And in my opinion, we're seeing some examples of that today with how the federal government is using data to target marginalized communities like immigrant communities.
Yeah. There's no easy answer on this at all. You know, when we were putting together the DACA database to protect people who had the right protections, the classic thing is you design it and you're like, well, here's a database. We want to make sure people look up at the database so they're not going to get, deported. And part of that was it never crossed our mind that it might be weaponized and turned into a lookup table to go try to chase people down. That wasn't even in the realm of our thinking. And I'm not sure, to be very honest, maybe Lisa has some ideas, but I don't know what we could have done differently given the constraints or the other type of thinking that we had. We just didn't, do we put like a explode button kind of thing in it? What we didn't, these are really tough things. The part there that I'm come away with more than anything in times of uncertainty and challenge is the thing that pulls you forward is community. Whether it's the Chief Data Officer Network, different groups, different people, students getting together, communities. This is the time when the more you share, the more transparency, you find the collective solutions. Exactly what Lynn and Erica were working on, bringing police chiefs together, bringing other healthcare practitioners together to try to understand these problems. When we were sharing, people go, wait, you got one piece of the puzzle, I got another piece of the puzzle. Maybe we might be able to find a common solution here that could offer something. I'm seeing this in academia right now. It's been interesting, like the lack of sharing between a lot of departments or other things on like course curriculum development with their AI. We're all suffering and we're like, wait, where do we actually get together and share this stuff? Like where's the actual forum? There's small pockets of it, but where's the bigger forums? And so like creating those forums, creating those spaces for us to be able to have honest, open, off the record dialogues about what's working, vulnerability of these things. That's really, really important, and I think that's going to be the actual solution to some of these things rather than direct policy. Mostly because the technology is changing so fast, it's always going to be outdated. It's a moving target, fundamentally.
I have a slightly different opinion, but probably because I just come from a different lens. There's two things. One, when Russia invaded Ukraine, I had the opportunity to engage with some people who were trying to help Ukraine identify where different issues may arise in different areas around the country. And there were a few companies, and I won't name any names because we are being recorded probably, and somehow this will get me in trouble, but there were a few companies who were also at the table. And I was genuinely shocked at the level of detail of information they had on people, on moving entities, to the point that at the end of the call, when they were like, oh, Lisa, I'm so glad that you're going to be participating, I said, you do not need me, because you already have stuff that I don't want to be a part of. And so I think there's a question that we just first fundamentally need to ask, which is, what if the data does get into the wrong hands? Would we be upset? And if the answer is yes, then we can't build the database without the safeguard, making sure. Like, we live in that world now. A decade ago, we might have been able to get away with certain things, but there's too much data out there now, and it's too valuable. All of you on your devices, oh my God, I could tell so much about you with just one day of stuff of your device, right? And now imagine how much Google has accumulated, or Apple has accumulated, or whomever, and what they're doing with it, and what they're choosing to do with it, right? So I think policy really matters right now, and I think we have to fight to get policy in place. Now, I was asked a great question. I was on Capitol Hill, and there was some people who were looking at some work that I was doing, and they said, I just have one question for you. What can I get past today? And it's a great question, right? What can we get past? The things we want may just not be plausible, but perhaps there's some other things that are fundamental that maybe don't look as important, but that are important for foundational reasons for the future of where our data, where our information gets. So I think it's a pivotal moment to not only think about our technologies, but to think about those policies. And I absolutely agree with DJ. Don't just build a technology to build it. There's no point in that. Think about how it's going to benefit people, how you're going to use it to benefit people. And if there isn't a beneficial use for it, then you shouldn't be building it. And if there is a beneficial use for it, think about how it could be abused, because someone will think about the alternate way of using it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And great question. Any other questions in the? Oof. See, this is why I cut us off early.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, excellent.
Hi, thank you. Given your experience as a chief data scientist, what lessons from federal level data governance could be applied to local or even academic contexts? The reason why I'm asking this is because many local governments lack the infrastructure or talent to use data effectively. So what scalable models have you seen to work to close that gap?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what do we, like, how do you, I think the biggest gap, there's, oh man, there's so many gaps. You know, it actually reminds me of the conversation with the police chief of Camden, New Jersey, and we were doing a call, and I was talking to him about a bunch of things, and you know, how to think about procurement and contracts and making sure who owns the data at the end of this, all these different things, and he just, the call just goes silent. He's just quiet for a minute. He says, DJ, you know, I know how to do two things. I buy equipment and I get people. I don't know how to do software. I don't know how to, like, who does this with thing. And so our attempts to bring technologists in have been really tough. Like, if we're really honest with this, is like we get a C, maybe a D. There's pockets where we've done actually okay, but they've not been scalable. We've tried this at the federal level government. I think we've had better luck. We've had some really good luck at the city levels and state levels. But we have to make it a more of a collective thing. Where does that start? My version of where we start is with you as the next generation. Much of my version is I'm giving up on today's version. because I don't think they're going to get it. So I'm more interested in pushing them aside to create space for you, so that when you're at the table, you'll do it correctly. You'll have both the skills, you're going to have the technical, you're a version of this. You're going to go back into service. You're going to have these different set of skills. You're going to go be in a different leadership role. You're going to have ability to influence in a disproportionately different way. That's success. So what my hope is you're going to be getting all the skills you can. And if you're half-assing it today around these things, you should expect something that I remember the first moment I was in a serious meeting was with Dennis McDonough. We're 15 feet from the Oval Office, and he says, remember, this is the meeting, there is no other meeting. And then you think, have I done everything, all the prep? Have I done all the work? Have I done all the things needed to be ready to help get to a decision? Do you deserve that seat? Do you have all the pieces? And so that means bringing all these skills together, all the different pieces to be ready for this moment. And our job is to start clearing the deck and ensuring that you have a pathway in to get there. That's my own personal way I'm approaching this.
Anything to add there, Lisa? Anything to add for that piece?
No, I think we are at a moment where scaling technology will be easier, but we don't yet know the paradigm of how to do it. And I do agree that this, our generation, and I might be an older generation than you, I don't know, but our generation isn't tech savvy enough, and they don't understand unless they're in Silicon Valley, they're not tech savvy enough in general. But this generation, you guys, you grew up with technology every day. You interacted with it, and you know how to use it, and you care about it in a way that's very different than many of us. And so I think I strongly agree that learn everything you can, because you can change the processes that exist with technology and using technology in a smarter way for good in a way that wasn't done as readily with our generation.
Awesome. Thank you both for that answer. We have time for...
Hi. So I just graduated from university. I'm from the Bay Area, and there's a lot of people there who are interested in technology and that sort of thing.
Can you stand up? I can't see you.
Oh, yeah. Give me 1 second. Yeah. I also studied data science, but I found that a lot of people, a lot of my peers, thought that there is some sort of separation between, STEM and the humanities, and thought that data was completely objective, when in reality we know through how data impacts people, there is social inequities intertwined within a lot of the data sets and technologies we use. So my question is, how can our universities and institutions do a better job of making incoming technologists more aware of the implications of the work that they're doing? Even if they're not, trying to enter the public sector, how can they at least be more cognizant of the impacts of what they're doing and not see it as some sort of division?
Yeah. So I think this is such an important fundamental question to think through. I've thought a lot about this, and I think if you look at undergraduate and graduate computer science curriculums, and they are failing society. There is no requirement to think about ethics or society, and we optimize for efficiency and other things. We could optimize for fairness if we wanted to, if we taught people to do that. So at Georgetown, so I'm going to do a little touting as chair of computer science if I can, we have the only computer science and ethics major in the country. And I think we have to start integrating ethics, not just as a one class little tacking it on, but actually embedding it throughout our courses so that we can, from the outset, get people to think about the inequities, the biases, the ethics of building certain types of tools. So that helps the next generation, but how do we help people who are already out there right now? I think we call them out, and we continually call them out. I think this is up to us to care about the fact that our data is not being used in a way we should expect it to build tools that enable all of you and enable us as a society to recapture and reclaim what is actually ours. We don't do that enough, and we need to convince enough people to do it so then it becomes the norm that companies want to engage with.
One of my great regrets is we just ran out of time during the Obama administration on a number of the key initiatives. One of those was to secure a major commitment from every major university, president, chairs of computer science programs, data science, all the training academies, to ensure that ethics and security were integrated into all of the curriculum, not just some add-on class, something in there. The other thing I think which is critical at this moment, I think we just need to be honest with ourselves. We're in an environment where the previous administration was very much brakes on technology. This is brakes majority, 10% gas. This is no brakes, all gas kind of moment. And Silicon Valley, investors, the economic model of all these things is going to push and accelerate in those directions by a stunning amount. And so what I look at that is the only hope right now is to create steering wheels and try to ask how do you actually put a little shape into the direction of technology. I don't see legislation as being able to keep up. I haven't seen any of the concrete proposals that I think are viable amongst the interface with the larger companies, from at least that I've been exposed to. So what does that specifically start to look like and shape is one of the things I think is you have to jump in. And you have to join these companies and try to make change from within. You have to call out things when it's not. I think there are some areas where we should have whistleblower protections and other type things to provide transparency. And there's a lot more that we can do. But also the other part is I think more companies need to be started by people with the right and good intentions and who are going to say this is the right way to do it. I mean, we talked a ton about this during the Obama administration. And we said, why aren't people going to go build healthcare companies in the good way that actually does it? And then Todd Park, Ed Park, myself, a few others said, oh, crap, that's us, isn't it? We said, well, that's going to suck. Yeah, it's going to be a super hard journey. It's going to be really painful, and we better go do it. And so we've been at it for 9 years of ourselves trying to make it happen, and it's starting to work. But it starts with us looking in the mirror and saying, you know what? We're not just going to hand that off to somebody else. We're going to take it. We are a capitalist society. We are going to drive this through a capitalist vehicle and get a ridiculous percentage of the market, the investors, and the believers into this system on our side as this is the right way to do it, and we're going to model it. And we're going to put the corporate governance so we have controls and the protections in place to drive it the way we believe that will insulate us from the basic kind of parts of the market forces that whipsaw you in these directions.
And kind of thinking about that a little bit. I mean, you're at Georgetown University. There, you have every opportunity to try anything you want to try here. There's lots of, there's the Beeck Center, there's MDI, there's entrepreneurship clubs. There's so many entities that want to help you take what you're imagining and bring it to reality. So I do think you should take this as a moment to think about what you care deeply about and how you want to take that to the next level too. I think it's a great opportunity. And the other thing I want to mention is there are, let's take AI as an example. We know Gen AI is everywhere. There's 8 big players. One of those 8 big players are doing it in a much more ethical and unbiased way than the other 7. Use them. Support them. you have a say in that.
Awesome. Thank you both. Sadly, we are running out of time, but they will both still be here.
Oh, come on. We can get one more question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or one
Do
more.
it.
Yes,
Do
do
it.
it. Lynn's like, that's why I never invite him.
Rapid question, quick.
Thank you so much. I just want to ask, in instances where you're at the decision-making table and you encounter instances where there's a conflict of core interests, whether that's ethical or your vision of what the future should be, how do you navigate those situations, and what is your thought process like? Thank you.
You know what the best training for this is? And what I tell every data scientist, every technologist, study the liberal arts. Every play, every major novel is about conflict and resolution of the conflict. And there's so many different techniques for doing it. There's people that I've learned, diplomats are phenomenal at this. There's other things. I'm trying to find, my personal one is I try to say, okay, I'm hearing a no. Let's just explore what a possible answer might be. And we try to go down that journey of building together or thought process together and see if there's a collaboration. I will tell you there's plenty of places where there's absolute no's, but I'm trying to find and build trust so that when we can build that up and we can work together on things. Like there's a bunch of things I'm working really closely with the Trump administration on. I disagree vehemently on a large number of things they're doing, but there's a few areas where I'm like, hey, you know what? If we can get organ donation programs reformed in this country, great. Jennifer Erickson's been leading this effort for a decade now. I think we can do a lot of good. But it's actually, it's not just the moment at the table. It's trying to develop a runway where we actually have enough of a relationship that I can buy trust when we get to that moment.
That is a fabulous question because it is something that I think we probably both deal with quite regularly, where you either have this just amazing thought of an idea and you know that this is the right way to do it, but you may even know that you're just going to get such a pushback on it. So first, before you get in the room, know who everybody is and understand what their viewpoint is. I think that's the hardest thing, is understanding why they disagree. And if you can take the time to understand why they disagree, you might actually come up with a better way to have that conversation. So that's what I spend a lot of time doing. I spend a lot of time thinking about why people don't like my idea. What is it about my idea that is upsetting you, right? And then just really trying to explain those components in a better way so that they can at least, if they want to make a rational decision, consider it that way. Or they'll explain to me why my idea really does suck and I might learn something, right? So either way.
Awesome. Thank you both. And no more DJ going to get me fired. That's the first time ever doing this, you know. No, but on a serious note, thank you all for joining us for this installment of the Civic Tech Live series, supported by the Erica Pincus Arborist Foundation. This has been a really insightful conversation from you both. Conversations like this remind us that Civic Tech isn't just about new tools, it's about re-imaging government communities with people. We'd like to invite you all to join us in the hall outside the library for light refreshments and networking. Please join me in thanking Lisa and DJ in a round of applause.